Welcome in. It is time for The Wire. Here we are with a bunch of hard-hitting news. Oh, man, some crazy stuff happened this weekend, some more injuries. And as always, joined here with me, Michael Berlin. How's it going, Mike?
Good, things are good. Yeah, it was another great week of football, and we had one of maybe the best game of the year, best game I can remember with the Vikings. Bill was pretty crazy game there. So, yeah, 10 weeks down, and we're getting close to those fantasy playoffs. So gotta start shoring up the teams and locking your roster down for sure.
Yeah, and, there's a lot of bias going on this week, but also some big injuries that happen. I mean,
Yeah.
Cup looks like he's going to be done. I mean, there's a bunch just injuries all over the place, it seems. And then you're also missing all your Dolphins, all your Seahawks, all your Bucks, and all of your Jaguars. So good luck there. But that's why we're here, right, Mike?
That's right. Yeah, it's the injuries, man. It's the worst thing about football for sure. It's just all the injuries.
Well, we feel it the most as Charger fans. That's for sure. We're just absolutely just decimated right now. But did you see the news today?
What news?
Allen and Williams are supposed to start practicing again.
I hope so.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, let's hope.
But we'll start off like we always do, because the most important position for us is quarterbacks. So no surprise here, but last week I was off of him. This week I'm on him, and it's Jimmy G. Got Jimmy Garoppolo, 46.6% rostered. Has a nice matchup. Gets the Cardinals this week. Should be able to torch them. I mean, our Chargers did pretty good last night, considering all of what we had to deal. I do think we had some pretty favorable calls, but I think that was the best way to go. Jimmy G has only gone under 16 fantasy points 3 times this year. So with that in mind, I mean, the past 3 games that he's had, 16.32 versus the Chiefs, 17.7 versus the Rams, and of course, 15.9 versus the Chargers. So, we're one of those 3. We can gladly put that on there, but that's who I'm definitely looking at. I think it gives you a safe floor with also a decent upside if this game actually ends up being interesting. I'm assuming that Kyler Murray is going to be back, but he also, I mean, last night the 49ers had all of their weapons back. They had, I think, 9 of the 11 players that they lost come back last night. So I'm excited for it. How about you, Mike? You got somebody that we should be looking at?
Yeah. I like the Jimmy G thing because, like you said, it should be a pretty safe floor, and he's surrounded by so much talent. He doesn't have to do much. As we saw last night, he ran for a touchdown, but he didn't throw a touchdown. So that's a good choice. Another guy to look at.
Did you see that stat last night?
Oh, their record when he doesn't throw a touchdown,
like 10-0 without 10-0 without scoring a touchdown. That's just mind blowing that you can do that, man. I wish we had that luck.
I know, it's crazy. So, so I like Jimmy G this week. Also like Daniel Jones again. He's kind of been one of those guys we've talked about several times this year. But the fact that he does run the ball, not a crazy amount, but enough to give you a decent floor. He's only scored under 13 points twice, which hopefully means he's not going to kill your team with a total bust performance. He was QB 13 last week with over 18 points against the Texans. And he plays the Lions this week, which is the biggest reason why I'm bringing him up. Is he's playing the Lions, and they are the worst team against quarterbacks so far this year. So they've allowed, I think, 20-plus fantasy points 6 times this year for quarterbacks, and only under 15 twice. And that was Bailey Zappi's first start and Dak's first start after the injury. So I like Daniel Jones because of the matchup this week.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid pick. And like you said, the rushing floor, I think, definitely helps for sure. I mean, if he rushes 6 times and gets 10 yards, that's pretty much a full touchdown already there for you. And you can just roll off of that and have your 6 points and be perfectly set up. But no surprise, those are our picks. There's probably some more, but those are the 2 that I'm most comfortable definitely selling today, especially versus the Lions. Jones is a good pick as well. But we're moving to running backs, which, I mean, the names you've probably heard way too much already on the show, but one of the big ones I like to always bring up is Jaylen Warren. He's continuing to get that passing work, seems to have a consistent value, and we are getting to the point that teams are starting to realize, okay, we need these players long term. So the guy that I like the most is clearly Jerick McKinnon, 18.5% rostered. Surprisingly, he was supposed to be out Sunday, had an injury. They said, he's probably not going to be used a whole lot. Nope. Instead, they used him a ton. It was extremely frustrating because I had Pacheco and CEH lined up completely ready up and for all of the people to use in fantasy football, and it just didn't seem to happen. But he is the one leading that backfield in snap percentage. And I mean, the past 2 weeks, week 9 versus the Titans, 10.4 fantasy points. Week 10 versus Jaguars, 11.8. And in both those games, did not see a touchdown. I mean, he's doing that with his pass catching work and just his running ability, and is a huge boost for that team, especially just the fact that even when he's not touching the ball, he's affecting the game. And it's a massive uptick for Patrick Mahomes to have him as a blocker there for sure. But that's definitely my pick. Who are you looking at, Mike?
Yeah, I like that pick, and someone I'm going to bring up is his running mate in that backfield is Pacheco, and we saw Pacheco get 16 carries this week. So if that's going to be kind of a consistent thing, which I know that's a little rare for the Chiefs to run the ball that much, but we are getting into late November, mid-November, December, and that's when teams they're trying to show they can run the ball, get going for the playoffs, and you definitely a little more running the ball, cold weather. So if we're going to get something like 15, 16 carries for Pacheco every week, I think he could be a safe flex play over these next few weeks with all these buys. Even when he fumbled last week, they put him right back in. And a lot of times you see guys get benched, especially younger guys, rookies, and guys who aren't that established. But it kind of just shows you that their mindset is they want to get Pacheco going. And the big thing is he plays the Chargers this week. He plays our Chargers, and they are awful against the run, absolutely awful. So, they did pretty well last night, but they were definitely, we saw guys get injured, defensive linemen. So
2 more. We lost 2 more today.
Yeah,
one to a torn pec and one to I think an Achilles or something. And I just couldn't believe it. And of course, we cut Tillery, which
and you can't, they were stacking the box against the 49ers, and you can't do that against Mahomes because he's just going to light you up in the passing game. So I like Pacheco. He doesn't catch the ball. Clyde got the one goal line carry they had, but interesting with Pacheco and McKinnon as well, like you said. And another guy we've been talking about feels like all year is Rachaad White, and he is going to be on a bye this week. So this is a long-term play. It's not for this week, but we've been talking about it. If Fournette gets hurt, he could be a huge, huge play, and we don't know the extent of Fournette's injury. It could have been just take him out. We're on a bye. We'll see. So definitely someone you should preemptively add this week, even if we don't get any injury news about Fournette. So I don't know how you're feeling about Rachaad White, but I think he's a solid pickup.
I definitely like him. The fact that they used him so much, I mean, they kind of had to, but he started off slow, was able to really build up steam after Fournette went out the second time, and he looked pretty good. I was excited for him, but again, I do think that is a split backfield. The fact that they gave him the start and he kind of struggled and they had to put in Fournette, it's a little frustrating, but we'll see how he ends up looking. I think that's still a safe ad for sure. I mean, like we said, it's cuffing season, man. Got to get your handcuffs for sure. But
consolidate your roster a little bit, and if you have Fournette, he's 100% the guy you should be focusing on this week. And then this is more for deeper leagues, but Kyren Williams, he played in his first game this year, last week 10 yesterday, and he saw a lot of different snaps in a lot of different situations. You can't look at his numbers and what he did, and that's not going to motivate you to pick him up. But just seeing early down, goal line, 2-minute, third down, he saw all situations, which is great. And Akers and Henderson haven't done anything to kind of take over that backfield. So he caught 3 passes, which is going to be key. You need that for running backs, for them to be really good plays, especially in PPR. And Kupp unfortunately getting injured. Who knows what this offense is going to morph into? It's not going to be a good thing, but it could be more run heavy. And so Kyren Williams in a deep league, I think, is not a bad stash.
Yeah, but on that same note, I'm not a huge fan of that backfield. Just is too messy for me, and so I completely get grabbing him, but it's just one of those things I'd rather probably not. I mean, there's much better. Specifically, we'll go into this position now because it's perfect, but the wide receiver options, there are so many awesome options right now at wide receiver that give you big boom games. I mean, names that you've heard before, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Josh Palmer, Paris Campbell, Devin Duvernay, Traylon Burks just came off IR, saw some decent target share. He did struggle a little bit, but that's not surprising since they were going up against the Broncos, who are a pretty good team last time I checked defensively. But even then, the name that I'm kind of excited for that I now with Cup dealing with injury is Ben Skoranek. I mean, he's definitely a player that you can easily see. He saw an uptick in target share, seemed to be the one who really took over. Van Jefferson actually got worked into the scheme, but of the options, I still think that they end up going to Skoranek more than they would. I mean, even Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson has his own role, and I think Skoranek just fills in better for Cup. But not the guy I like the most. It's still going to be, we're going back to the Chiefs, going back to the well. Kadarius Toney. The fact that Hardman's dealing with injury, Juju's going to be out this week again. More than likely, that concussion looked pretty serious. I wouldn't be surprised if they held him out the next 2 weeks even. But 47.5% rostered, still pretty available. Like I said, those two are dealing with injury. His first week with the Chiefs, 2 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards. Not great, 3.2. But this past week, with everybody getting those injuries, he came up big for him. 4 catches on 5 targets, 57 yards, 2 rushes for 33 yards, and adds a touchdown, giving you 19 fantasy points. That's what you're looking for. This kid is so explosive and great at breaking tackles. If you give him the space, like if they use him in the jet sweeps like they did clearly twice in this game, it works out pretty nicely for you. But those are definitely the 2 I'm looking at specifically. Is there somebody you're looking at, Mike?
Yeah, a couple guys. I like the Toney thing. I always try, unless I'm really desperate for like a start 1 week, I always try and, when it comes to the waiver wires, get potential guys with this potential to become top end starters to win your leagues. Toney is definitely one I put in that list of, he has a lot of potential. We've seen it, and hopefully it starts paying off. Another guy is Christian Watson. We saw his coming out party, and rookie receiver again. Usually they take several, second half of the season, they get going. We saw this. We kind of been seeing it from the Packers. They've been wanting to get Watson going, and he's been getting these injuries every, the last couple weeks. And but we saw a huge game from him with the 3 touchdowns. Was on only 4 catches, so maybe not something you can bank on every week. But the target share is nice. It worked for them. They won the game. I don't see them really going away from that. And hopefully, with just this offense, we'll get going a little bit. They're running the ball more, and it'll just be a more efficient offense. And I really like Watson, and I just think he's someone you really should target for the potential, right? Just like a Toney is. These guys can become high-end starters, I believe. So I really, really like Christian Watson this week, and he's only less than 10% rostered. So I'm sure that's going to shoot up after this week. Will be interesting to see that change. But him and Toney are like my 1A, 1B of guys you should target for the receivers for sure.
Yeah, if you're looking for upside, those are definitely the 2. I mean, outside of DPJ, who I think is clearly above both of them, just because, like, I was getting yelled at because I said I wasn't willing to play Amari Cooper because on the road he's just horrible.
That's
this
strange.
week, 3 for 32. Like I said, it's brutal for him, and so DPJ paid it off pretty big. But he's definitely a big play guy. I just wish he could find the end zone a little more, and that would make him even more valuable.
Yeah, and you got Watson coming back, so I mean, we don't know what that's going to be like, but yeah, I like Peoples-Jones as well, and Paris Campbell is another guy with Matt Ryan. He looks good.
Well, and the fact that they got rid of Hines, I think those short area
Yes.
targets have really gone to Campbell and really opened up his game as well. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. So there's a lot of intriguing guys that can help you during the bye weeks, and who knows what they turn into. A couple other guys just for super deep leagues. Jarvis Landry. Again, this is for much deeper PPR leagues, and I hope they kind of move on to Jameis Winston again. And the Saints offense, I think, only had 47 snaps this week, and which is, for those that don't know, that's really low. You should be getting 65, right around there is kind of the average for most NFL teams. So who knows? He doesn't have to compete with Michael Thomas. He was clearly one of the guys. He was kind of put right back into the starting rotation with Olave. So for deeper leagues, and Isaiah McKenzie, his snap percentage is going up more and more. And if you have a high snap percentage on a really good offense, things could pay off there. But those are definitely more for the deeper leagues.
Yeah, speaking about frustrating, I thought McKenzie was going to have a huge boost with Allen hurting himself, and instead they brought Gabe Davis closer to the line and started targeting him sooner. I'm like, you've got to be joking me.
Yeah.
You could have been doing this all year and allowing this guy to see more targets, but now McKenzie's just continuing to be overlooked because Davis is just a beast. It's so frustrating.
It is. But we do see them try and get him involved. You know, they give him carries, 1 or 2 carries a game. And so I don't know. Historically, with Josh Allen and the Bills, that slot receiver has been a good fantasy spot, especially in PPR leagues. So I hope McKenzie can start producing a bit, but yeah, it is frustrating to see.
I really thought it was going to happen. I was like, oh, McKenzie should have a big week. The fact that he isn't going to be able to throw downfield as much. Nope, we're just going to dump it off to Gabe Davis too and just completely eliminate McKenzie. I was extremely frustrated. They did use Knox more, which was definitely one of the things I expected too, but it's so frustrating.
It was strange. And to see Josh Allen running over people still, it's like, what are you doing? You know, like, especially, you know, leading with your elbow and stuff. It's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, remember, you are a quarterback and you're one of the most valuable players in the league, right?
Yeah. Of course, Steve coming over here. Hardman with the Juju injury. Yes, we understand that, but Hardman was also out this week. I'm just nervous that the fact that he was downgraded. If he is available, last time I checked, he was at 65% still rostered, which is part of the reason he's not on the list. But I do like Hardman. It's just the fact that with Juju out, Tony is the more explosive player, and everybody seems to be singing his praises. So, which I know you absolutely hate because Steve keeps saying he can't learn a playbook. Completely understand that. He probably can't, but the dude is talented. I don't care how you cut it. If you get him give him the ball in some space, he's going to make people miss, and clearly saw it. his first touchdown when he tiptoed that line all the way down the way and just hopscotched in was incredible. I mean, it's stuff like that you just can't teach players, and it's the talent that's annoying. That when if they can't learn something, it's extremely frustrating for us as fantasy managers.
Yeah, and it comes down to, you know, potential versus if you're desperate and you need someone, you know. Although I do think you can start Tony, but you know, maybe you want to go the Mecole Hardman route. He was having some good games there. I think 3 straight games with the touchdown he had. So I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just one of those, like, we know what we get with Mecole Hardman, and I want potential. I always want potential.
Yeah, I was, like I said, we were on it a couple weeks ago. I mean, I was excited for him, but again, if this injury is something Lingman, there you go. Still 51.5. That's still over the 50% mark. But yeah, I know that you prefer Hardman, but it's just, he looks so much better. I hate to say it, but the talent is just so impressive for Tony. But we'll leave that alone. We'll move into the area that people have come here for sure to see, because man, we cannot figure it out. And every week we're just pulling names out of a hat, it seems like. But
a lot of guys went down. Injuries on tight end position this week, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, the big one is Zach Ertz. That was a pretty sad one. You just could tell the second he hit the ground that he wasn't confident in what was going on, and so that's always unfortunate to see for sure. But
especially in an older player, you know, it sucks to see.
Yeah, and so at this point, I mean, you know, the backup for the Cardinals is probably going to be Steven Anderson, our old tight end. But so if that's a way you want to go, I completely understand that. But I'm looking more to the guy who has seen 6 and 7 targets the past 2 weeks, and it's Cole Kmet, 38.8% rostered. The past 2 weeks, he's really come on. Granted, one was a good matchup. This past week was actually a little more difficult, but he came up with a 2 touchdowns. I mean, if he keeps putting up 2 touchdowns, great. But even without that, he's had double-digit fantasy points without the touchdowns, and that's something that you are definitely looking for. Week 9 versus Dolphins, 22 fantasy points. Week 10 versus the Lions, 23.4. In both games, he scored 2 touchdowns. But had he not, like I said, 10 and 11 fantasy points, that's at tight end. That puts you in the top 12 usually every week. So that's who I'm definitely looking at, is Cole Kmet for sure. But
he did have an injury, right? I don't know. Is it serious, or is he going to miss this week? No.
The basics, it just looked like he had some soreness, but that's something to definitely keep an eye on. We'll of course, we have other names to give you as well, but that's just part of it. So
yeah, you know, we mentioned him last week as you know, guys that had high expectations coming into the year, disappointed, and then they had one of the games they're kind of expecting for them to have, throughout the whole year. So those guys are always a little intriguing to be like, okay, is something clicking here? Did they figure it out? Or like for the Bears, did the offense figure it out? Which it really seems like they have. So I like the Cole Kmet pick.
Well, and not just
definitely.
focusing on running. I mean, well, they are
Mhm.
kind of, but they're using primarily the quarterback,
Mhm.
who's definitely opening up the offense for sure. But it's
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I like that. Another guy, Foster Moreau with the Waller news going on IR. Not a guy I'm super excited about, but he with the Raiders and how bad their defense is, they're gonna see a lot of offensive snaps. They're gonna be throwing the ball a lot. We saw Moreau get a touchdown this last week, and last year we saw some decent protection from him for a tight end. So if you're really desperate, or if you have Waller and Komet's not there, maybe look into Moreau. And then you mentioned it with the Cardinals and Zach Ertz going down, and we don't know for sure who's going to take his spot, but Trey McBride, rookie there, um, he was kind of considered the best tight end by a lot of people coming into the draft. And we've seen what Dulcich has done, Bellinger. We've seen some rookie tight ends, Kate Otten do pretty well this year. So, Ertz was tight end 5 on the year, even including yesterday's game where he missed basically the entire game. He was tight end 5, so they're going to need to replace that. Actually, someone who I think it's going to benefit more and is Rondale Moore. So
correct.
kind of going back to the receiver thing. If he's still on your
Available,
waivers, grab him.
pick him up for sure. Yeah.
He's gonna be good.
I was gonna make that exact comment. I'm like, who it really helps is Rondale Moore. Let's be honest here.
Yes.
Well, and
go ahead.
Connor, with Eno Benjamin getting released now, becomes even more of an interesting play if they continue to actually throw to him. That will also be a big selling point for him.
Yeah, definitely. Just to go back on Rondo Moore, I think he's been tight end or wide receiver 10 since just over the last few weeks, since like week 7, and that's when they kind of moved him to in 2 wide receiver sets and then in the slot and 3 wide receiver sets, and so yeah, I think he's really going to benefit. We saw it yesterday with I think 12 or 13 targets that he had. I don't think it's a coincidence with the Ertz injury. So yeah, definitely he's available in enough leagues that anyone, someone listening to this, he might be available in your league. He'd probably be number 1 on my list, right there with Watson and Tony for sure.
Yeah, and man, it's so frustrating to see stuff, all of the injuries that are happening, but good news. Well, moving to defenses and some good news for people who like the Steelers. Watt's back. Definitely came in and made an impact immediately. I'm super pumped for him, but that's the defense that I like the most this week. Steelers are 27.5% roster currently, and they get the Bengals, which I know it's a scary matchup, but without Moore, it's been definitely interesting. Jets or Bengals, thanks. Man, I Pickett looked actually pretty good this week. I'm going to say the Jets. They get the Patriots, and I just expect that game to be fairly low scoring. The Jets actually have a pretty good defense and are coming off of a bye, so both things are in their favor. So I would definitely lean the Jets there for sure. But who?
Yeah, that's one of my defenses I was going to bring up is the Jets.
Perfect.
So Jets is my vote for that. They were on a bye last week, so I'm sure a lot of people dropped them. They're 5th best in fantasy and points per game. So you can't get much better than them. I mean, they've been playing well, playing better as of late. They play the Patriots, who are one of the they give up some of the most points to fantasy defenses.
Steve giving you a shout out. Pick the Jets for this week and last week. You're staying consistent. Even though they were on bye last week, they still won.
yes, exactly. So I like the Jets for sure. So I think they were, right around that 25-30% rostered. I definitely like them. And another defense that was on bye was the Ravens, and they have a pretty good defense as well. I think they're 7th in points per game or 8th. So they're right around that 50% mark. They might not qualify for ESPN leagues, but if they are there, I think they're decent. And they get the Panthers, the Jags, and the Broncos the next 3 weeks. So they could be a kind of more of a long-term defense for you as well.
Well, especially this week. Sure, everybody's known, but PJ Walker is out, so Baker Mayfield will be getting the start this week. I think it was a ankle, if I remember correctly, but it's
high ankle sprain.
That's going to sideline him. My guess is probably 3 to 5 weeks, depending on how severe it is. But so you're going to see Baker for the next couple weeks, and I'm curious to see how the offense ends up running. But I think that the Ravens are who have gotten healthier, and should definitely be able to tear the Panthers apart, who even struggled against the Falcons. So this will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will be definitely. But yeah, it's you get maybe find that long-term defense, and that's kind of what I like about all three of these. Steelers, Jets, Ravens is these are potentials where you don't even have to worry about maybe unless they have a really bad matchup, you might not have to worry about defense anymore on the waiver wire, which is always kind of nice. So.
Yeah, and if we haven't plugged it already, you can easily find all this stuff and ask us any auction portion, any kind of bids, any of that. If you still have any fab left, that's the best way. It's to join our Discord. Important nonsense. Join the Patreon. It's $1 a month, and you get to annoy us all you want. We're there. Well, we always answer your questions, work through it. And also we have holiday merch out, so shop.importantnonsense.com. Outside of that, are there any other kind of parting thoughts, or are you excited for the game tonight?
I am actually. I have a couple players going tonight, but I think all my matchups are basically settled. So I hate, one of the things I hate in fantasy is comes down to that one player on the Monday night, and you're literally watching the game, just like, give me 5 points or whatever I need, and you can't even enjoy the game until your player passes what they need to pass. So I like to not have to worry about that. I think it would be an interesting game. Just the Eagles in general, it's like, are they going to go undefeated, or are they going to lose? Odds are they're going to lose, right? And
I mean, the funny thing about them is that their schedule has looked pretty soft so far. And so until they get that big signature, I mean, we thought the same thing about the Vikings, and then they surprised us all and beat the Bills on a. So it's definitely interesting to see how things can change, and I'm excited for clearly the Eagles. I think that's a really great team, and I don't think they lose tonight, but stranger things have happened.
divisional games, you always got to be careful, and again, if you're going to put money on them losing, I'm not advocating that you do, but divisional games are sometimes a good bet to make. It is Commanders though, so be careful. For sure.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is a money line game. If you're going to take it, I'm definitely taking the money line for the Eagles, not the spread, because I think the spread was actually pretty big. I think it was like a 10 points. Oh, golly, just the disrespect they're putting there on the Commanders and Taylor Heineke. Come on now, you can't do that to the man. But it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm excited. I'm expecting Gibson to have a big game. I think he's definitely going to be a pretty safe 7+ points. McLaurin's probably in that same range, assuming he gets all his decent targets. Even in his matchup, he's still seeming to put up those decent numbers. Heineke's not scared to throw to him, but and then clearly you're starting all your Eagles. It's actually Devontae Smith's birthday, so I'm kind of curious to see how that ends up working out for him. If they make him the target hog tonight, or if they still go to Brown more. I would take the anytime touchdown for Devontae Smith getting one tonight, because I would expect that Hurts to go and try and find him in the end zone for a birthday gift. So
a little happy birthday gift. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope it's a good game. So,
but we've done all of the fun stuff. Mike, you have anything to promote?
Just again, like you said, the Discord. I really enjoyed in there, and you get a little more detailed answers or more of our thought process, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, the trade article. Probably a lot of trade deadlines coming up. December 1st, or everyone has different trade deadlines, but I'm sure they're coming up. So still chances to make trades, buy lows, sell highs, and always looking towards the playoffs. So we'll release tomorrow mid-morning on importantnonsense.com, of course.
Yep, and it's definitely great information. And like we said, the trade deadline is coming up, and this is some crucial information that you will probably want to make sure that you're involved in it, all that good stuff. Outside of that, I hope everybody enjoys tonight's game. Stay safe. Hearts are with UVA for sure. I'm a big college basketball guy, and seeing that happen, and clearly our hearts go out to them. But outside of that, man, let's have some fun tonight. Let's try and stay light. And as always, remember to keep up the nonsense.